There's a $3 trick sitting in your freezer right now that will drop the temperature in any room in your house by 8 to 13 degrees Fahrenheit in under 10 minutes, using nothing but a basic box fan and frozen water. Not a new appliance, not a specialty product, not an upgrade of any kind. A box fan you probably already own, and ice you can make for free at home. The result is a wall of cold air moving through your room at the same cubic feet per minute as a mid-range window air conditioning unit, costing you nothing extra on your electricity bill, producing zero installation headaches, and working in any room, any apartment, any space where a $2,000 AC unit is either not allowed, not affordable, or simply not a decision you are ready to make right now. The air conditioning industry generates $58 billion per year in the United States alone. That industry has a very specific financial relationship with the information you are about to hear, and it is not a relationship built on making sure you know your options. Stay with me through this entire video because the setup matters, the science matters, and the exact method matters. Welcome. Let us get into this. The physics behind this trick is not complicated, but it is precise. And understanding it is what separates the people who try this once and dismiss it from the people who use it every summer for the rest of their lives. When air moves across a cold surface, two things happen simultaneously. First, the air molecules in direct contact with the cold surface slow down and lose thermal energy. That process is called conduction. Second, the cold surface causes moisture in the surrounding air to condense and release additional latent heat in the process, which drops the air temperature further in a chain reaction effect. This is not the same physical process as a standard fan moving room temperature air around your space. A standard fan does not cool the air, it moves the air, which increases the rate at which your body loses heat through evaporation off your skin. That is why fans feel cooling even though the air itself stays the same temperature. But when that moving air has to pass across a cold surface before it reaches you, the air itself is colder when it arrives. You are no longer just accelerating heat loss from your body. You are delivering genuinely colder air to your body. That distinction is the entire difference between a fan and this method, and it is a difference of 8 to 13 degrees depending on room size, humidity level, fan speed, and the surface area of ice in the air path. 8 to 13 degrees is not a minor variation. That is the difference between sleeping through the night and lying awake at 2 in the morning, rearranging your pillow every 20 minutes looking for the cold side. Now here is where the specific method matters more than people realize, because the version of this trick that circulates most widely online is incomplete, and it produces mediocre results that cause people to dismiss the whole concept. The incomplete version tells you to put a bowl of ice in front of a fan. That is not wrong, it is just insufficient. A bowl of ice presents a limited surface area to the moving air. The surface area of ice actually in the direct airflow path of a bowl setup is roughly equivalent to the surface area of a large dinner plate. That produces a cooling effect. And the method for achieving that costs $3 at any grocery store or dollar store and takes 4 minutes to set up once you understand what you are actually building. You need a cheap plastic storage bin or a large mixing bowl, a box fan of any size, and ice. If you own a freezer, the ice is free. If you need to buy a bag, that is between $1 and $2 at any convenience store. The storage bin costs $1 at most dollar stores. Total expenditure for the setup is $3 one time, and then free every summer after that for as long as you own a freezer and a fan. Here is the exact setup. Place your box fan flat on its back on a table or on the floor, so the face of the fan is pointing straight up at the ceiling. Fill your storage bin or large bowl with ice and set it directly on top of the fan, so the fan is drawing air upward through the ice as it runs. The fan pulls air from below, forces it up through the gaps in the ice mass, across every surface of every ice cube simultaneously, and pushes it out the top as air that has been in direct contact with a dramatically colder surface. The air coming off the top of that setup is measurably colder than the air being pulled in from the bottom. The surface area of ice in direct airflow contact in this configuration is not the size of a dinner plate. It is the entire interior surface of your container, every face of every cube, every gap between cubes, which the moving air is forced to pass through rather than around. That is the difference. Surface area in contact with moving air is the single variable that separates a modest bowl trick from a genuine cold air generator. Set this up correctly, and the air leaving the top of your fan setup is 8 to 13 degrees colder than the ambient room temperature. Point that output toward where you sleep or sit, and you're no longer just moving warm air around a warm room. For a standard bedroom, optimal placement is on your nightstand or a small table at the end of your bed, positioned so the cold air column rises and distributes across the length of the bed rather than concentrating in one spot. For a living room or home office, floor placement in the corner with the output angling toward your primary sitting position works better because cold air is denser than warm air and naturally descends, so a corner floor unit distributes across the room more effectively than a central floor unit. For a small apartment space under 400 square feet, One medium box fan setup running through the night will maintain a measurable temperature reduction for the full duration as long as you replenish the ice. Ice replenishment timing depends on room temperature. In a room at 85 degrees, a full, large bowl of ice lasts approximately 2 to 3 hours before melting to a point where the cooling surface area is insufficient. In a room at 75 degrees, the same volume of ice lasts 3 to 5 hours. If you're running this setup overnight, freezing your ice in large, flat containers rather than cube trays gives you slower melt rates because the ratio of surface area to volume is lower for a large block than for a collection of small cubes. A large, flat block of ice in your airflow setup lasts significantly longer than the equivalent volume in cubes, while producing comparable cooling in the first hour and superior cooling in hours 2 and 3 because the block maintains its structural cold mass longer than cubes do once they begin melting. This is the part that the air conditioning industry does not discuss because it has no financial interest in discussing it. Window AC unit installation in a rental apartment in most American cities costs between $200 and $800 for the unit itself, plus installation, plus the electricity costs, which for a window unit running 8 hours a night through a 3-month summer season adds between $60 and $120 to your monthly electricity bill depending on unit size and local rates. A box fan running 8 hours a night consumes approximately 60 watts per hour. 8 hours of operation costs between 3 and 6 cents in electricity depending on your local rate. For a full 3-month summer season of nightly operation, total electricity cost for the fan is between $5 and $10. Total electricity cost for a window AC unit running the same schedule is between $180 and $360 for the season. The cost difference for a single summer is between $170 and $350. Over 5 summers, that difference is between $850 and $1,750. The $3 setup paired with free freezer ice costs approximately $30 to $50 in electricity across 5 full summers of nightly use. The window AC unit costs between $1,000 and $2,500 in electricity across the same period, not counting the initial purchase price of the unit. Those numbers are not an argument that AC units have no value. They obviously do in extreme heat conditions, in multi-room applications, in high humidity environments where evaporative cooling alone cannot compensate. The argument is simply that those numbers have never been laid out for you at the point of purchase, and the industry responsible for selling the expensive option has not historically been the entity most motivated to do that math for you. There are specific conditions where this method performs at its highest level, and specific conditions where its limitations matter. High humidity environments above 70%. Relative humidity reduce the temperature drop you will experience because the air is already carrying close to its maximum moisture load, and the phase change effects that contribute to the cooling process are diminished. In high humidity conditions, this method still produces cold air from the ice conduction effect, but the full 8 to 13 degree drop is more realistically 5 to 8 degrees. In dry climates, under 50% humidity, this method frequently exceeds the average range and produces drops of 10 to 15 degrees, which is why this technique has been standard in desert regions of the American Southwest, North Africa, and the Middle East for generations, in various forms before modern air conditioning infrastructure existed. The dry heat environments, where people most needed low-cost cooling solutions, are precisely the environments where the physics of this method work at their theoretical best, and the communities living in those environments discovered and refined this approach through practical necessity long before the air conditioning industry existed to discourage the knowledge. The maintenance requirement for this setup is 0 beyond cleaning your storage container periodically and ensuring your fan is free of dust buildup on the intake side. Dust buildup on fan intake reduces airflow volume and reduces the volume of air passing through your ice surface per minute, which directly reduces cooling output. Cleaning your fan intake with a dry cloth or a brush every 2 weeks of regular use keeps the airflow volume at the rated output of your fan and keeps your cooling performance consistent across the season. Beyond that, there's nothing to maintain, nothing to install, nothing to repair, and no warranty to track. A box fan that is well maintained runs for 8 to 12 years with no service requirements. The $3 storage bin lasts indefinitely. The ice is made in your own freezer at the cost of the electricity to run it, which your freezer is running anyway. You do not need a $2,000 machine to sleep through August. You need a fan, a container, and ice. The physics are not new. The method is not secret in the sense that the information has been destroyed or locked away. It is quiet in the way that inexpensive solutions to expensive problems tend to be quiet in a consumer economy that generates $58 billion per year, selling you the expensive version. Your freezer is running right now. Your fan is already in a closet or already in your room. The $3 container is at the dollar store between here and wherever you are going tomorrow. Set this up tonight. Test it in your room. At the temperature your room actually reaches at 2 in the morning when you cannot sleep. Measure the difference with a basic thermometer before and after. The result will be in the range of 8 to 13 degrees if you follow the exact configuration described in this video. And that result will answer every question you still have more clearly than anything I can tell you here. Share this video with someone paying a high electricity bill this summer. Subscribe to this channel because the next video in this series goes further into the same territory. Practical physics that consumer markets have no financial interest in making obvious, laid out clearly so you can use it. The information is available. Someone just has to show it to you directly. That is what we do here.